Good morning, sambaXP. My name is Hagit Galitzer, and I'm a Senior Program Manager at Microsoft, and I'm excited to open the Microsoft Interoperability track at the sambaXP 2023 conference.
Guten Tag,
sambaXP.
Our team members would have been happy to be here, but they sent me. So I represent the Interop team, and as you can see here, we sit in the middle between the product groups that develop the different protocols and related products in Windows, Office, and SQL, and we work closely with these teams that develop the SMB protocol, the RDP, the remote desktop, and others. And the teams that are in charge of the test tools and content and support that is related to these products. And as you've seen in the video, we have representatives from all of these teams that are going to provide sessions to you later today. So interoperability, I've said this word a few times today. It's not so easy to say. It's a big fancy word. But really, the meaning is the ability of different systems, devices, applications, or products to connect and communicate in a coordinated way. And that's exactly what guides us at the interoperability program at Microsoft, ensuring that you as developers have the tooling, information, and all the resources you need to successfully develop for Microsoft services, products, and platforms. It starts with the events we host around the world, like today. This is a great opportunity to meet and connect with the developers community, like yourself. And speaking of events, we have an SMB3 IOLab coming up as part of the SNIA SDC in California in September. And at the following week, we'll have an IOLab, special IOLab backed by popular demand for the Samba team in Redmond. So feel free to ask me anything about that later and hope to see you there. So in addition to the events that I mentioned, we also provide dedicated support teams that are free of charge. We have specific tooling for developers, which are open sourced, and also we'll have a designated session on that later today. And of course, our comprehensive portfolio of documents under the open specifications. And we'll dive into all of these components in the next slides. So here's a quick look at our initiatives by numbers. Over the last year, we engaged with thousands of individuals from over 1,000 companies in all of our events and support engagements. We have a large portfolio of documents that are updated and published on a regular basis, and an experienced team of engineers ready to help you unblock issues and resolve them fast so you can continue your work. And just an important note to mention is that of the 900 protocols that I mentioned, over 200 of them have an associated tool that can help you better understand what that content means from an implementation perspective. And we'll talk about that as well. So the open specification docs are the heart of the Microsoft Interoperability Program. It includes documents representing the Windows protocols related to file sharing, remote desktop, Active Directories, and others. Also, the Office protocols covering Exchange Server, SharePoint Server, and Office clients, the SQL protocols, and Office file formats. This library of content consists of over 900 docs, as we mentioned, and 50,000 pages. And they're all available at your fingertips at learn.microsoft.com. They're authored in a standardized way to ensure the consistency across all of the specifications. And the target audience is the protocol and file format developers, such as yourself. So as you select a protocol of choice or file format document of choice, and you dive into the protocol technical specific documents, and let's say you select this somewhat familiar document, SMB2, you'll be able to see a consistent look and feel. So the individual document page will have prior versions that will allow you to diff and see the changes over time. You can download the diffs. You'll also have downloads of both PDF and Word docs. And within the specification itself, you'll find the table of content and the document structure that are also similar and consistent between the documents. Second. You'll be able to see where the docs reference other protocols, the relationship between them, and of course the protocol details, which are the sections describing the packets, messages, requests, and responses over the wire, and all the other information needed for you for developing your implementation. In addition to the protocol specification, we also offer developer tools you can use to debug your implementation or validate the code you've written. We find that developers fall into three main categories or basic interop scenarios. The first one is on the client implementation, developers that are building clients that connect to Microsoft servers like mobile or desktop client. From the other side, we have developers that are building the server-side implementation, and they want an experience where Microsoft clients can successfully connect to their server. For example, it could be a mail server or file storage, and where you want to make sure that Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc., will behave in a similar way to the way that they behave when they connect to Microsoft Exchange or SharePoint. And our third scenario is developers that are building something on the middleware, typically a security or archiving scenario. So along with the documents that we provide in the open specifications, we have a variety of tools that explain and showcase how to do all these different scenarios. And you'll hear more about these tools later today in a designated session. And so we'll touch a little bit about the test suites, and that's where this will be the designated session. So when we authored each open specification, we spent time to do in-depth analysis to ensure the document is accurate, up-to-date, and consistent. In our protocol test suite, we simulate the implementation process by pulling out the key requirement in the document. And what we call, from the section we call normative language, and we're turning those requirements into test cases. For example, here you can see that we're pulling out this normative language. Similar test cases become scenarios, and you can think of these scenarios as representative of how the product sends requests and responses to Microsoft server and client. We have a large number of Office family test suites that are available for you, and they describe the SharePoint, the WAPI protocol for Office Online, Exchange Web Services, Exchange ActiveSync, and MAPI HTTP protocols that Outlook used to communicate with Exchange. All of these are available on GitHub and are open sourced. And likewise, we also have a selection of Windows test suites, from file server to the remote desktop, Kerberos, Active Directory, and others. They're also available on GitHub and open source. From the support perspective, I wanted to highlight the available communication that you have to contact our dedicated support teams. So as we mentioned, these teams are based in the US, and we have multiple escalation engineers offering complimentary interop support for all of these protocol, Office, Windows, and file format. The mission of these teams is to help you, unblock you, and just help you move forward with your development effort. You can email them through the dochelp@microsoft.com email for direct, fast, and private communication. You can, if you wish to use other means of communication, you can use the forums, and this is a shortcut that can lead you to a page where you can select either Windows or Office related forums. There you can ask anonymous questions, and those are community driven channels of communication, but they're constantly monitored by the support team. We highly recommend using the dochelp email. This will ensure that you get your questions answered very fast, and they will follow up with you to either resolve your issue within a few days, or if in case of a bug in either the documentation or the product, they'll follow up until this bug is fixed. You can also use the GitHub. If you have issues that are related to the test suite, you can use the GitHub to place a comment or a question. So all of the links that I mentioned throughout this talk are provided here in this slide for your convenience. And so please feel free to use them and take advantage of these super helpful resources. So what's next on the Microsoft interoperability track today? So following this talk, we'll have two Office sessions. We will have Jinlin Su, from a principal engineer from the Microsoft Customer Success engineering team on the Office side, who will introduce the Office Online, Office 365, and the power of protocols behind it. We'll have Michael Bowen, who is an escalation engineer on the support team, who will showcase the Azure Cognitive Services and their capabilities. And after that, we'll have representative from our test suite development team in Lagos to present a demo on the file sharing test suite overview. They are also interested in learning your feedback on potential usage of Wireshark parser that we're considering to develop. So your feedback and opinion is highly appreciated. And finally, on the Microsoft Interop track today, a member of the Samba team, who's also a Microsoft SMB developer, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, will discuss the SMB3 POSIX extension and improvements to the Linux client. And this is the one and only Steve French. So if you take one thing from this session, I want you to take this statement. We really want to hear from you, learn from you. So please keep in touch. This is our email. And we also hope to see you in our upcoming events that I mentioned in the fall, the SNIA SDC SMB3 IO Lab and the following IO Lab in Redmond.